And welcome to a little bit of news and an update on the CB750 and 350, also the XE as well. I've been busy doing lots of work around the house, the usual stuff with pickets and painting and all this sort of business. I've been making some tools. There's a Speedo stand because we're going to do the video on the Speedo. Little jigs for mounting gauge faces and bits and pieces like this for painting and all that sort of stuff. So I've been doing a little bit of that kind of thing. Also, I've started on things like this, nostrils and that sort of stuff for the car. I'm going to get this stuff blasted. I soaked it in thinner and nothing happened. I don't know what sort of paint it is, but they're just not rubbing it back's a pain, and I want to get it all in here in the little mesh bit and all that sort of stuff. So I'll send that out and get it blasted. Wearing a very special shirt today. You can see. If you don't know who that is, you probably need your head examined. The boys at Cold War have sent me this shirt, which is wonderful. Got some stickers too to put on some of the cars. And in this one we work on the rear chrome parts on the 750. We get this 350 front wheel back. The XC, I've got to order, I'm about to order the rear caliper pistons and hoses, and then we can stick all the brakes in, bleed them up, and then that's all three pedals are working. The only thing after that, while I'm under there, I'll do the fuel line as well, and then we can start him up. It needs to be started like we started the Plymouth up, just to run it for a little bit, and we can sort of hammer ahead with that. I've got some metal to start making patches in the front door. I'm going to be bringing out small sub parts like sub part A, B and so forth on the XC, because a lot of it's quite long-winded work and you're not going to get 20 or 30 minutes out of it to make a video. There'll be little 5-minute updates periodically that I'll send out for you to look at. So that's what I've been doing. The next video after this one's going to be the instrumentation, because I've got the overlays here for the gauges, so I'm going to do a video on that. Need to speak to a bloke called Harvey, who's been very helpful, and just to make sure I'm on the right path. I've mucked around with instrumentation before. I just want to get, there's a lot of variations in there in the 350 and 750 instruments. We're doing the 350 ones now, but there might be a thing or two he can tell me that I don't know about, because he knows a lot more about that sort of stuff than I do. So the next video is going to be instrumentation, reconditioning it, and after that we're going to be back on the XC for a bit. So hope you enjoy. Mudguards. I'm using this, where's the box? This grain, this, I'm going to say grit, but this level of this Supervine steel wool. This is twice the price of the other stuff. It was like $7.30 just for a small box, which is a complete rip, but what do you do? At the end of the day though, when you rub it on, it doesn't damage the chrome, and it makes it look a lot better. And you know what, this guard isn't in fantastic condition, but it's doable for our resto. It does come up quite well. There's still some pits in and that sort of thing, but you can see over here we can do a bit more there by just rubbing it on. Given that the bike's going to be sort of kept inside, I don't think it's going to be a problem, but eventually you'll probably find some of that little pitting rust will come back unless we sort of coat it with something. But again, you know, you've got to be careful what you coat it with, otherwise it won't look any good. The thing is though, and there's a couple of things with this, the 350 rear guard is quite similar but narrower, if you know what I mean. The 350's got much narrower tyres on it. The other thing you'll notice about it is where Honda have lengthened it for the 77, 78, so they use a longer swing arm than the 70 through to 70, or the 69 through to 76. They would be mounted here with these bikes. Because they were no longer considered a super bike, they became more a tourer. They lengthened the swing arm so it had more of a longer wheelbase, steadier ride sort of thing, and they've lengthened it there. Normally I would have thought the Japanese would, what do you call it, make a whole new part, but they didn't. And you know what, that doesn't matter. Now the deal is this. Here is, I wrapped up the wiring, the taillight for it. Now that goes through there obviously and mounts like this, and it would look proportionally acceptable. Can you see this? Or am I talking to? Yeah, you can. Can you see this? Yeah, you can. Alright. That's going to sit like that. Now the only thing is, the 350 uses a much more thick set mount, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in a moment. Hang on, I'll just put this down and I'll go get it out and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so anyone that knows me knows I really, really like the stock look, but what I don't like is this 350 arrangement on the right. This is the 751, and it's a much nicer, more aesthetically pleasing bracket, even though it's not in terrific condition itself. The 351's just too bulky. It really is, I think, terrible. I don't like it one little bit. So in the box full of 350 stuff, it came with this little tail light. And I've no idea what it is, but I think that would look much, much more proportionally suitable for the 350 over and above this one. The 751, as we said before, is wider. It's a much wider tyre. So you've got this narrow back tyre and this really tall tail light, which I think looks terrible. The other thing with that also is it takes away from the appearance of the bike. The bike's quite a low bike. We've got low bars on it. We've got a lovely cafe style tank on it and all this bright work, and then we've got this thing here that wrecks it all. Here come those corrals, they're a pain in the neck. So for my money, I reckon we do away with that. I'm just not keen on using it. Look at those bloody birds. Added to the fact it isn't really in all that great a condition. Now the lens is actually better than the 751, and we couldn't get that off, or at least I couldn't get this off, and I ended up putting a crack in the reflector. Still roadworthy, because it doesn't let moisture in, but I might put that on here. That's got a kink in it too, but all things considered, it's not that bad. I suppose the next thing is just stick a tap through here and make sure the threads are clean, because the bolts didn't go in as well as I'd like. It's dry, but oh well. And that way, I got it wet. I just put a bit of clear, just rattle can clear, just where it was surface rusted in these sorts of seams here, and I left it outside to dry and it rained. Great. Okay, does that go in? Let's do better. 2 bananas. This is where we really stretching for room. Anyway, let's stick this on. Would have been much easier putting the wheel on, but I'm impatient. It makes the bike look a ton longer too. So this has to go through this has to go through the plastic inner guard. If I can see what I'm doing, and that goes like that. And then that one just sort of slides over. Pretty easy stuff. And that all looks good. Then we can tighten things up, and you can just see how long this thing is. It's huge. That goes through there. And plugs into that bit there, which is cool. Had some dough, isn't it? Probably shouldn't have put that on until I got the wheel, but yeah, I just wanted to do it. I'm not sure about the spacing of those grommets. It is straight though when you look at it from the front. The 350 light housing is identical, but it's in better condition here, so I think I'm going to change that over anyway. And I also think I got the order of that washer wrong. But you know what? It's all good. It'll do for now. That can be plugged into this little lot here and sort of sit nicely tied up. I'm not worried about that for now, but I am happy with how that looks. So we have to order the back wheel, and I think before we do that we'll get the 2 tyres and rims trued for the 350, just so I can put the stand on it and can roll it around. So I'm telling the truth this time, I have actually ordered the bars. I ordered them today for this, so that'll pull that down and make it a lot sleeker. I just don't think you can go past a good old-fashioned UJM. They're absolutely, these Japanese classics are absolutely gorgeous. And we get caught up with all the new stuff, you know, it's safer, it's this, it's that. And there is truth in that, but that ultimately just comes down to dollars and cents, doesn't it? No one is building bikes like this. You can get modern equivalents, I suppose, but the classic stuff is just, in my mind, better. Same with cars. And I just don't think you can beat that. Right, we finally got round to getting some lowrider bars. They will pull the thing right down, which is how I want it. Worth noting or remembering, these things were raised back. There are adapters here, so this was sitting back here. So the original rider must have been quite small, quite short. So I think we'll take all this stuff off. This has to be repainted, done up, restored, whatever. And I want to have it so the throttle cables go behind the fork where they're meant to go. So we'll start taking this stuff off. Not this too well. To be truthful, I'm still a little bit nervous about whether or not that cable will be long enough. I mean, if it's not, it's not, but I'm going to have to, these have got a coating on them. I might just get a little bit of prep wash. It's got that oily sort of greasy coating. I'll just wipe that off. I'm just going to pop these in for now, just temporarily. Be great if these non-genuine bars had splines on them. I'd feel a bit safer with that, but we'll get them around about where we think is right. The throttle cables had to be routed down through the top next to the underneath the tack. I had a look at a couple of photos because I couldn't remember that, but it looks like that's where they went. Anyway, so I had to sort of reassemble it because I didn't want to take off the wiring for the behind the headlight, even though I have to do that eventually. At the moment, I don't need to. Let's just take a stab there, and we'll do a turn test. Although I haven't got a back wheel on at the moment, which I'm a bit nervous about. But I think that's probably around about right there. What do you reckon? Anyone watching this? Is that right? I think it is. We're good. I think we're good. I bloody hope we're good. Already it just looks head and shoulders better than it did. I don't even know what sort of bike these are supposed to be from. Alright, we'll start there, I think. One thing I'm not too happy about, I brought the throttle cables up under the tag, but it just doesn't return as well as it did. I might try and just stick them underneath. They're a bit of a pain. They're a bit of a pain, but I'm just going to undo the instrumentation and just reroute them. They're not as tidy. I'll show you in a minute. I'm just going to tighten up these little stays, these little locks. And look, it's not as tidy, but I'd sooner function over form, particularly on a bike. I might turn it that way. Full lock. That's good. We'll just pop Gary's tank on and just have a look. But so far, that is looking bloody good. So I'm happy with that. Feels much, much better. Right, so I've got to clean these off again with a bit of Prepsol, but we've got our genuine Honda grips. I bought two sets of these, one for the 350, and I think they're just so cool. I really do. So I think we'll bang those on. Now that we've got our bars, we can consolidate a bit. There's obviously a large one for the throttle side. So a small one goes on this side, obviously a large one goes on that side. I just think they absolutely reek of cool, these things. No, they're the same. Right, let's clean this off and put it on. Just a bit of prep wash. I've probably already scratched the chrome there, just wiggling that on. That's got to come off again. But I want you to do me a favour and ignore all the slack wiring, but I don't really care. This is supposed to be fun, right? Bit of Aldi hairspray. What did I do with it? Hang on, which is the... Oh, it's over there. That was dumb. Bit of hairspray inside, bit around the grip, on the bar, and on she goes. Lovely. Just loosen that and move that back. I'll do the same on the throttle, and we're good. Now for the pièce de résistance, Gary's tank. Let's get him out and have a look, eh? Lovely. You can hear the chain rattling around inside. Holy smoke, that looks good. Let me just check That misses. That misses too. Awesome. She's getting bigger, boys and girls. How awesome does that look? It's just gorgeous. It's pretty big too. If I had a worry, it's the radius there for the Breakmaster. I might have to move. I think there's enough real estate there. There's a zip tie there. I can take that off. But I can move that out a couple of mil, and you won't notice it when you're riding it. But I just think that is just absolutely gorgeous. I'm very, very happy with that. I think it's wonderful. It's not being a cheap bike to do. It's been very expensive because we've rebuilt the whole thing from basically every nut and bolt. But I'm more than happy with that. Oh, one more thing I forgot. There we go. Much nicer. Oh yes, a beautiful spring day with an XD Falcon at the front. What do you want? Definitely not a good environment to keep a car. You can see on the ground all that moss. It's sort of around where the XD's been. I had the Commodore here, and even then, I got a family of millipedes in the tie tread. It's only been there a short while. So aside from the back wheel and the seat, the only thing left in the 750 box is a front brake line. This is a one-piece jobby from the caliper all the way up to the master, and we need a small one. The broken ones, the two small ones. The disc shroud, if you like. Rear indicators. That's off the brake line too. A buzzer, which I'm not putting on. And just a few bits like that. That's all there is. Now I've got to get a few parts. I've got to get a rim for the back. We keep talking about that. That's the seat door, where your documents sit underneath the seat. That's an indicator lens and part of a chain guard. The tank strap, which is knackered, I've got to get one of those. And these rear indicators here, which are bent. So I'm going to take these off, straighten these out. Now, it might be such that it might be easier just to heat them up with a gas torch. But we're going to take these grommets off because they're not impervious to a lot of heat. Now these lights, it's worth noting, go one way. They will sit underneath that spacer there that goes through the grommet. And then of course these bolt in like that. This is all bent up and pretty mangy, so we're going to have to do these up to make them look good again. Ignore my claustrophobically bad work area. Once I've got the 350 together, I'll have a lot more room. Let's go spray a bit of that stuff down there. Now try and separate it here. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. Here we go. That was actually a lot easier than I thought. That's not good. Have to figure out what to do there. But we got one off, which is good. That's a bloody mess. This is going to break, but I've got a bit of steel rod here. If it splits, I'll just weld it. That's not bad actually. Just straighten him up. A bit of a squeeze. I've still got a bit of a bend in him. It's only soft, mild stock this. So it's pretty easy to pull it around. You know what, that doesn't even look too bad. Okay, we'll just get the other one and have a look. So, what happens if I put that through there? Get these together. We're aiming at some, hang on, I'll get it on the camera. We're aiming at some symmetry because the light's going to be on these and they're going to stand out like a dog's. Well, you know what I'm going to say, don't you? But just sort of putting them together. What do you think? Anyway, I'll keep going. This could probably have been cleaned out a bit more. I might just get some brake cleaner, just a moment. VHS tapes, you can see there. I picked up this old VCR for 50 bucks. A really old one. And I like the retro tech stuff that Techmoan does. So I figured I'd have a play around with that, get it going again, stick belts through it, new capstan roller and all that sort of thing. Really good fun. Right, I'm going to go and squirt this out. This is great, this stuff. Look at that. It's like new. Right. Well, it's not exactly Hydro Blaster, but it's clean enough. This thing was pushed in wrong last time. It goes, just sits in there for the swing arm stay, or the brake stay. I've got the linings which are virtually brand new. So, I'm going to get some grease. We don't normally grease our brakes, but I'm just going to put a tad in there where it pivots, just to stop it squeaking. And if you do this, you must use the good old high temperature bearing. I'll just put some on that shaft to stop it galling. So it rotates beautifully, and I'll just put a little bit more in those contact areas. We don't want much, we only want a tiny, tiny bit. Just to stop any squawking and misbehaviour. And then we can just stretch these mofos over. Which are quite difficult. Maybe I'll get these ones on first, eh? And this little guy has to go in like that. Beautiful. They self-center on there. So as we turn that, it pulls them out. It's not good to do this on a spline, but for the purpose of demonstration, we turn it and they just expand against the drum. So we're good. Right, so that's that ugly little job done. So I'll pop that back in here after I clean it again. It doesn't use a lock washer, you use a little splitty pin through there, so I'll stick that together. I don't know what size flat washer it uses, but I don't think it matters. We can pick and choose. One goes sort of over the shank and one goes over just the threaded pin. Looking at the indicators off both bikes, the 750 are the larger of them. That's in pretty good shape. It's still got its bullet terminal there. Orange and light blue are left and right. This one feels like it's been trapped around there, so I'm just going to put a bit of heat shrink there, and then that one's pretty much done. Cleaning them up is easy, as we said before, just with some of this really fine steel wool, and you get the rough off, and then you can just literally go over it and it will yield a very good result. Sorry about my sweaty hands, it was foul, but anyway, you get the picture. Now, as we said on the 350 last time, there's a bit of pitting there. Now that would have faced up, so this would have been the left hand. I'm going to mount them upside down because there's no pitting there. No condensation's got to it, or at least dew or anything like that has got to it. So I'm going to put these about face, just so I can get a better looking result, if you know what I mean. So the pitting can face down, which will still be there, but it shouldn't be as what do you call it, obvious. So we can just clean those up. That's pretty easy. This one here, same thing. That's in very good shape. That's cool. We can use that. There's one of the earths going off the bracket. Rubbish. So I'll cut that off and I'll redo it. It's got the earth thing there. So I can just literally make a new bit with some of this black wire. And the 350 ones have been messed about with, in that they're no good. So I'll just cut those dodgy ends off. And we'll rejoin new conductors on there, just to whatever length, and then I'll cut them to size once I figure out how it's going to sit on the bike. Also, somebody has painted the top. It's got overspray all over it where where they've painted it while it's still been on the post, if you know what I mean. But it's been such an interesting, or such a valuable tool, just for polishing in the intricate parts of shocker legs and all that stuff. I can feel some of the wires coming up against my glove. But I'm just going around giving this a quick skirmish, just in the corners that aren't easy to get to. And it's just been so handy. For 39 bucks, if it died tomorrow, it's paid for itself. I don't know if you can see that. It's just wonderful. And the other thing is, all your Dremel parts will fit. It's just a rip-off, but it goes right up. So something like 30-something thousand RPM. As I say there, between 8 and 35,000 RPM. You worry at really high speed though, that's going to start letting go of wires and I'll go a bit. But it's a champion little thing. Look at this rust, it just sort of comes away. It doesn't scratch, it's only very, very fine. It's only a very fine wire wheel. And once you've done all that stuff, like in the corners, you just hit the rest with steel wool and you're on the home stretch. These wires are fairly dirty. We probably should be using flux or something like that with them, but we'll see if we can solder them up. Probably help if I had the right glasses on, but here we go. Just doesn't take as well as what new wire would. Whack him over. You're supposed to use this soldering iron or a heat gun or something, but not a ciggy lighter, but it doesn't matter. That'll stay and it'll be reliable. So that's cool. We've got the other one there. There are a few other things I need to do. What was the other thing? So with those bits here. Hello, you can see me. Can you see me? Yeah, anyway. These little bits here go inside the rubber that holds the rear indicator on. And they face down so they can clear this, they face down here so they can clear that bus. I'm just going to take this bolt out here and stick it in. Pistol Pete, I did the live feed last night and Pistol Pete remarked, it's Pistol 85 from Queensland, and he said, your garage looks a bit cramped now, and he's kind of right. So these just slide over, wire comes out the back, we've got it coming up through there, and again we've got to connect all that. There's the other way round, hence the reason I took the orange and blue marker off. There now, this would have been on the other side, but it's a bit pitted underneath. As we said before, here's the other one, which is going to look fine there, but it's worse on that side. So this will go on the other one. And I just hope this little pigtail wire is going to be long enough, which probably won't, but if it's not, we still don't care because we'll just make it longer. And that's it. And we don't have the lenses. The only ones we've got are these cruddy ones. I'm not putting those on. But it gives you some idea. All the lights are there anyway. And when we're ready to connect it all up, we will. CB350 front wheels back. It's been all trued and had a new Dunlop Roadmaster on it. Now this is not a directional tyre. It can go either way. So I'm going to put it all together. It's all dirty. Fingerprints and all that sort of stuff. I couldn't get this pattern for the 750 because they don't do it in the 17 inch. I think they do it only in 18s. Do they do it in 19? I can't remember. But they don't do it in 17 for the rear, so that's why I've gone for the Metzler. A bit nervous because new tyres obviously have a release agent put onto them, so they're quite slippery for the first 100 miles or so, maybe even more. So I have to go very gingerly on it when we start riding it. Apparently the newer ones are moulded in a Teflon mould, so they don't use that release agent, but it does feel quite, like it might be slippery. Anyway, it doesn't matter for now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop it together. You don't need to see that because I did it on the 750, and I'll put it on the bike. And again, we're just fitting new seals. This is the old Speedo Drive one, back to back, identical, so that's cool. We can chuck it now and clean and grease this. I left it black, and I'm just going to run around the inside with some fresh high temperature bearing, and that will ensure it doesn't liquefy, and we can just punch that in. Might be able to just squeeze that in by hand. Seems going quite easily. And if you can do it by hand or something soft, it's better than fighting it and knocking it in with the drift where you can actually buckle the seal. You can aid it with a bit of dowel, just a bit of hardwood dowel. And I'm just going to go around here just with a very light smear, just so we don't tear the seal as we stick it on. But yeah, that's the drive, which sits like that. Cool. And the axle should go through the whole freaking lot, which goes over that way, I believe. So doesn't that look lovely? The front disc rotor is a little bit scored. I reckon I'll get away with it. It measured up all right. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed it. Take care of yourselves, enjoy classic, and I'll see you around.